They say motherhood is a journey, but let's be honest, sometimes it feels more like a roller coaster with no seatbelt. I bet you're like me, wondering why babies, or teens in my case, don't come with instruction manuals. Welcome to This Incredible Mom Life, the podcast that celebrates the beautiful chaos, quiet wins, messy moments, and everyday miracles of being a mom. I'm your host, Demi, wellness coach, mom of 3 boys, and a passionate believer that you don't have to live at the mercy of PMS, burnout, or exhaustion. Join me every week as we hear the craziest and most unbelievable mom stories. I'll be sharing the huge accomplishments and triumphs of both our moms and their kids. We'll giggle, cheer on the kids, and discuss obstacles and lessons learned along the way. If you are struggling to be the best mom you can be, how open-minded are you to booking a free call with me? You don't have to live at the mercy of your cycle, and you definitely don't have to do it alone. Give yourself permission to let me be part of your support system. I believe that you weren't meant to just survive motherhood. You were meant to thrive in it. A supermom isn't someone who does it all. It's someone who grows through it all. Let me introduce you to today's guest. Emily Roper is a Neuro-Developmental Delay Therapist and Certified Midwives Assistant. She owns Early Roots, which is a specialized therapy practice for children with developmental delays. She has an educational background in psychology, midwifery, and neurodevelopmental delay. Emily has spent over a decade helping children with ADHD, autism, anxiety, dyslexia, sensory challenges, and other developmental delays. She has attended more than 600 births and supported hundreds of families through their postpartum period. In addition to her hands-on work, Emily is passionate about education and bridging the gap between the birth world and psychology. She teaches and speaks to both parents and professionals about how early experiences, specifically pregnancy, birth, and the newborn period, shape long-term neurological development. She has trained midwives, taught postgraduate students, spoken at conferences, and hosts the Early Roots podcast, where she makes complex developmental topics feel practical and accessible. Her work helps providers and families alike better understand and support children and parents. Thank you, Emily, for taking time out of your busy day to be here with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, let's get started. Share who you are a mom to.
Sure, I have one son. He's 4. His name is Maverick.
Awesome. And share a mom story about Maverick.
Yeah, okay, I will. I've been thinking about this one and I've gone back and forth about different stories to share about him because he's quite a funny and spicy kid. And parenthood has been quite the journey for me, man. I thought going into it that having like this huge background in midwifery and child development and all this stuff would really make a big difference. And I'm telling you, I feel like a fish out of water when it comes to actually parenting, especially the toddler phase. The toddlerhood has been, it's been a lot. We're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, though. So, one of the things that I've been trying to do with him, especially as we're getting out of this toddler phase, is to really try to develop some consistent moments of connection where I can like really develop some habits of things where we can enjoy some time together and it's not just like constant correction or redirection or all of the things that is involved with the 2 and 3 year olds. So, I saw on Instagram somebody posted this suggestion for adding this thing to your bedtime routine where when you're laying down to go to bed, you ask them something about what they're proud of that they did that day. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. I want to start doing that with him. So I added it in a little while ago and we'll go through his books and his normal bedtime routine. And then I'll lay down and I'll ask him what he was proud of that day. And it started off kind of slow. He couldn't think of anything, which I kind of expected. He's pretty young. So I started off by telling him things that I was proud of, which was really nice because it was a great way for him to like actually hear positive things from mom. And, that's hard, especially for toddlerhood. So I would come up with things that I was proud of him. And then we'd talk about things that he did well that day. And then I'd talk about things that I was proud of from my day, things, mistakes I had made, things that I had done wrong, like just really sweet moments of connection. in the evenings. And then last week, he comes in and we're getting ready for his bedtime routine. And he was so excited. He's like, Mom, I know what I'm proud of today. You don't have to help me. And I was like, oh, yay. I'm thinking like he's growing up. So I was like, what were you proud of, buddy? And he goes, I'm so proud of this big poop I took tonight. What? He was like, yeah, I left it for you just in case. I'm like,
course you did.
oh no, just in case what? What am I gonna do with that? So I was like, oh God. And he was so genuinely proud. And then I made the mistake of laughing about it. And of course, now he thought it was hilarious and it derailed our whole like sweet evening conversation. So it's like, I am not prepared to raise kids, especially not 4-year-old boys, man. I don't know anything about this. That
Yeah.
was nowhere in any of the books. So,
No, I have three boys, and that
oh
is a
gosh.
very common topic in my house.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
Um,
everybody says it doesn't change, so I guess this is my life
no,
now.
I have teenagers, and we still talk about that. Like,
Great.
yes. But I love that you started off with sharing what you were proud of for him,
Yeah.
what you were proud of for yourself, your mistakes. That just teaches him so many more life lessons than
Yeah,
really
that was
doesn't
one
teach.
thing my dad did that really I remember stuck out. I remember one time him telling me a story about a mistake he made after I'd messed up and done something, and I was like, oh, parents make mistakes. So, like it stuck with me. So it was just
Yeah, and
something
not a
I
lot of
wanted to
parents do
build in.
that.
No, no. So I'm happy we're building that in, and hopefully he'll find other things to be proud of as he gets
Yes,
older.
I absolutely love that routine. I hope you continue it as long as he lets you. Um, and once you're not putting him to sleep anymore, I would do it at dinner time because that's what
Oh,
we
great
do.
idea.
Yeah,
Great
once you're
idea.
like you're not getting into the bed with him and this and that, like we do those kind of things at dinner time with my teenagers now. So
Smart.
amazing. All right, well, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a neurodevelopmental delay therapist, which is probably not something most people have heard of. There's very few of us in the US. The postgraduate school that I went to was based out of the UK, so it's a little bit more common there, although it's still kind of a niche area. But basically, what I do is I look at a lot of different areas of early development. So things that are developing during pregnancy, during birth, and during the early infancy stage. So really like less than a year old. So during that first year. So looking at things like our stress response, looking at early reflexes, looking at balance and coordination, at posture, at visual skills, like how we can move and use our eyes, looking at our sensory skills and how we process sensory information. All of these pieces are things that really are developing and solidifying during that first, pregnancy through the first year. And they're all things that should be working really well by the time kids are starting to toddle around and enter toddlerhood. And they provide these things all provide the foundation on which the rest of the brain is built. So oftentimes what I see in the older kids that I'm working with, the ones, that are struggling with different developmental things, is they have problems with all of these early pieces. So things like the way that their stress response developed. That's something that, our stress response when we're born, when we're a newborn baby, is very different than what it should look like in an older child and an adult. Babies have a super sensitive startle reflex. It's called the Moro. It helps them right after birth when they're born and they make all these different transitions. But then that reflex should mature into a much more dynamic stress response as we get older. But there's a lot of things that can go wrong and disrupt that process. And then what you have is older children that keep this kind of super heightened sensitive stress response. And then you see this kind of negative domino effect with the way the rest of the brain develops. So you see problems with social emotional development, a lot of problems with focus and attention, with processing sensory information, kind of all of these things. And that's just one example. I'm looking at a lot of different areas, but basically, all of our more advanced brain skills, so emotion regulation, good social awareness, attention, executive functioning, learning, like reading, writing, all of those more advanced pieces are really built on these foundational skills. So anytime you have kids that are struggling with that piece up there, I'm always curious to see like what's going on underneath. Do they have all of these tools that they need in order for these things up here to function properly first? So that's mostly what I'm looking at.
Nice. Um, I know we were chatting about this before. So let's talk about why it's so important for brain support even before a woman decides to get pregnant.
Sure. Yeah, we can talk about that. So basically, one of the really important things about brain development is that it happens based on experience and movement. So the things that we experience, what happens to us, how we interact with our environment shapes how our brain develops and functions. So for babies during pregnancy, we have this massive explosion. They go from basically non-existent to being like a fully functional little human by the time they come out. So we have this huge period of massive brain development that's happening. And pretty much all of that is happening based on what mom is experiencing in her body and her health. So really, you can't separate the two. So when we're talking about developing a brain during the most critical period of time, it's really based on mom's health and how she is doing. And so it's also very difficult to go into a pregnancy and then try to fix health. If you've got a lot of nutritional deficits, if you've got a lot of mental health struggles, if there's a lot of things that are already, if you're already depleted, it's really hard to then replenish that after the fact. You can, and you should, and there's a lot of things that you can do in pregnancy too. But ideally, you should be doing a lot of things preconception to regulate your nervous system, really up your nutrients, get your life as stable as you can. And then when you're pregnant, it's a lot easier. You have a lot more leeway for things if you go into pregnancy as healthy as possible.
Yep.
Obviously, that's great and ideal, but not all of us get that choice. So,
Yes, it's so important. I teach the same things. So one of the things I teach on is following your menstrual cycle and cyclical
yeah.
living.
Hmm.
And it's the same thing. We work on the nutrition, the exercise, the stress reduction, the improving sleep, all of that. And then, when your fertility gets boosted naturally, right? And then if you continue that during the pregnancy, then you're helping baby also.
You
So talk
are.
more about some of the things pregnant moms can do to support the kid's brain
Mhm.
development.
So the biggest things are going to be nutrition, getting as much nutritionally dense food as you can, keeping your blood sugar stable. All of those things are really helpful. And then exercise is something that often people miss in pregnancy. And the that goes hand in hand with the idea of stress reduction. So everybody pretty much kind of knows like you want to reduce stress in pregnancy. You don't want to be stressed out in pregnancy. But reducing stress does not mean like that we do nothing. It doesn't mean that we're immobile or that we're really zen and calm all the time. Stress reduction is about reducing low-grade chronic stress. It does not mean that we reduce like acute stressors that you get with, say, exercise. What a healthy nervous system looks like is we experience stress, it goes up, and then we recover. And we go through these cycles of experiencing stress and recovery because that's normal functional life. And when mom's doing that, so her stress goes up and recovers, that's what baby's nervous system is doing too. They get like a little micro dose of that where they experience levels of stress and they experience recovery. And that process of mom's body doing it teaches their body how to do it, which means it teaches them how to experience stress and how to recover. And those babies come out a lot more tolerant and resilient to stress versus babies that are born to moms that have high levels of chronic stress that are just across the board. And exercise is one of the best ways that we can kind of like navigate that process in a healthy way. So it creates an amount of physiological stress and then it encourages recovery. And obviously the type of exercise that you do is going to depend on your fitness level, your health, other constraints and things that you have going on. But exercise in pregnancy is one of the best things that you can do to prevent diabetes and other risk factors. And it's really, really helpful for baby's nervous system and for their brain health after.
Oh, I never thought of it that way, that like the mom's stress response is teaching the baby how to have the stress and then how to respond to it and come back to a resting state. Very
Hmm.
interesting. I love that. So now after the baby's born, how can we support the kid's brain development in early childhood?
Sure. So there's a lot of things, and it kind of depends on what's going on. The big thing that's happening really early, is attachment. So basically, babies are born, and we are very, very social creatures, and we are going to be in like close relationship with people for the rest of our life. And there's a lot of skills involved in how we connect with and relate to other people. And how well we do that really depends on our early relationship with our primary caregiver. So usually that's going to be mom, but it can be multiple people too. And what we want is for babies to learn that people are safe and reliable and that their needs get met. So when you have a little baby, they cannot really do barely anything for themselves. They're very helpless. And part of that is actually like a very brilliant design that encourages that type of attachment behavior. So they're upset, they're hurt, they're hungry, whatever it is, and somebody comes and comforts them. And they learn this kind of through that happening consistently, they learn to basically like trust other people. They learn that the world is safe. And then from that place of safety, they can move on and explore and develop independence and all of the other skills that we care about later. So a big thing that's happening in early infancy is that attachment is being built. So for moms, what that means is like trying to respond to your babies as much as you can, as soon as you can, trying to keep them close and regulated and fed and taking care of them. And then as they start to get bigger, then you kind of slowly, for lack of a better word, like add in a little neglect as they get bigger. As they start to be more capable of doing different things, then we allow them more independence. But when they're
Mhm.
first little, we really want to we want to teach them that foundation of safety first, and then everything else kind of gets built on from that. So that like developing good attachment to your baby, being really responsive to them, is helpful. And then the main thing is, even though they're on the outside, they still are very dependent on you to regulate. So you taking care of your own physical and mental health is the biggest and best thing that you can do for your baby. And I think for a lot of us moms, it's really easy to do that when we're pregnant because that connection is a lot more clear. And we're like, okay, I'll prioritize my nutrition while I'm pregnant, but then it's going to go off the rails when babies out because it doesn't matter to them. Like I can focus on them. They'll get all the best organic food forever. But for me, I'm coming last after that. And that's you taking care of yourself is still the most important thing for your baby at that time.
Yes. And so many moms neglect that. I know I did it.
Oh, me too.
Yes. So it is common. It is sometimes, it's unavoidable because you're not sleeping, you're stressed, you're trying to figure out motherhood, right? Like I always made sure my kids had organic baby food, and then I was pureeing like vegetables into their mac and cheese and all this stuff, but I was eating whatever. And then
Yeah.
it finally dawned on me, no, I need to take care of myself too. Um, I say this often, like it's like when they say on the airplane, put on your own oxygen
Hmm.
mask first before helping others, right? Like you need to take care of yourself first before you can help your kids. Um, but yes, let them nurture them in the beginning and then let them take their steps and, move away. When my oldest son started walking, right? Like we were holding him, then he, holding on. And then I would just put two fingers out and he was just holding my fingers.
Hmm.
And he wasn't confident. He could walk, but he wasn't confident to do it himself. And so I was just, okay, whatever. I just kept putting my fingers there. And then one day he just kind of let go and started running.
Hmm.
So yes, it's very important to nurture the kids, be there for them. Um, and then the exercise you mentioned, right? Very important.
Hmm. Hmm.
There's lots of mommy and me workouts, so you both can get your right exercise or yoga or whatever. We used to do something called cosmic yoga with the kids, where the
Ooh,
baby
fun.
had like stories and Disney movies and this and that. And she was doing yoga along with the storyline. So find something that you both enjoy and do it together, right?
Hmm.
um, so now you have a questionnaire to help parents with screening. Can you talk more about that?
Sure. Yeah. So I have a screening questionnaire for that parents can fill out. These would be if you have concerns about your child's development. So if your child falls kind of into that category, that spectrum of ADHD, autism, anxiety, learning disabilities, they also don't have to have a diagnosis. I work with a lot of kids that kind of fall into those categories, but they just don't quite fit into any box cleanly. And this screening questionnaire will ask questions about their pregnancy all the way through present day and helps me kind of determine if I think that they might have some of these early developmental pieces that might be holding them back. So I offer free screening questionnaires for families. That also includes like a 30-minute phone consult. So if you're worried about your child, you can go to my website and fill that out. We can talk about it, and then that can help give us an idea if the type of therapy that I do would be helpful or if we should start somewhere else.
Nice. I will put the link to that in the show notes so people can find it.
Awesome.
If anyone has a question or they want to get in touch with you, how can they connect with you?
Honestly, my contact information is on my website. It's probably the easiest. I also am on Instagram, although I check it less frequently, but you can message me there too.
Nice. And again, I will put all the links below so people can just find you easily. This was really informative. I loved it. Thank you for joining
Yeah.
me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. And for any moms listening, until next time, keep showing up for yourself and your baby in small ways because they add up. All right. You guys will hear from me next week. Are you struggling to be the best mom you can be? Are you fatigued, overwhelmed, and stressed out? Are you losing precious time with your family because of PMS? If so, sign up for my free gift on how to start living in tune with your monthly cycle. The link to get it is in the show notes below. Use this guide to help you start to eliminate your symptoms of PMS, increase your energy, reduce stress, and fully enjoy this incredible mom life. The way I see it, you have 3 choices. You can try to figure it all out on your own. You can do nothing and stay where you are, or you can get the customized guidance you need to thrive as a mom. The choice is yours. Thanks for listening to today's episode. I hope you learned something from these stories. If you enjoyed this show, please make sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. It really helps this show grow. If you have a mom story you would like to share, click on the link in the description below on becoming a podcast guest. Remember, the content on this podcast is for general information only. It does not replace any medical advice given by your healthcare providers. Please check with your doctor if you have any questions about your specific condition and before starting any new diet or exercise regimen. Thank you, and you will hear from me soon.